Hi there, good evening, good day, good morning, wherever you are around the world. We have a team here from around the world as well, and you have joined us for the Ask the Experts, Stop Attacks and Reduce Security Operations Workload by 50% with Automated Cross-Domain Security. So hopefully you were fortunate enough to just view the session, and we are fortunate enough to have Karina Feuerstein here with us today, who just presented the session to answer some questions for us. My name is Tim Wolford. I work in the product marketing team for this product, Microsoft 365 Defender. And as I mentioned, we have with us today Karina, also Zvi Ben-Sheffer and Mikhail Shalev from our engineering team who work specifically on this product. So just as we get started, a few housekeeping things. Please use the live chat to ask any questions. Questions will appear to everybody, so you can vote for your favorite one and that will take it to the top of the list. So hopefully we will get to that quicker than some others. The experts with us today will answer these questions verbally over chat. I'll be here moderating, pulling out the most crucial questions, and we can also provide more resources following the conversation as well. The session will likely be recorded, so please help our moderators. Please don't spam the post or post anything inappropriate. Please adhere to the Microsoft Code of Conduct for the Ignite event. Now that you've had a chance to read the Code of Conduct, here are the speakers with us today. We're lucky that we actually have four. We have Jeff Chin, Senior Technical Specialist, Karina Feuerstein, who just presented the session, Zvi Ben-Sheffer and Mikhail Shalev, who are all principal program managers from our engineering team working specifically on this product. So before we dive into some questions, Karina, I wonder if you might be able to just spend a couple of minutes just kind of giving a brief summary of what you talked about. What is Microsoft 365 Defender? How does it sit in the prevention and protection world of threat protection from Microsoft, and how does it play with some of the other products we have like SIM? I wonder if you just spend a couple of minutes walking us through that.
Sure, Tim. So Microsoft 365 Defender is our new combined Microsoft 365 security stack. It basically takes our best-of-breed Microsoft 365 security products for endpoint, identity, applications, and brings them together into a single full security stack, deeply integrated to handle all of the Microsoft 365 environment. We see here it's actually part of our larger Microsoft Defender solution, which is our XDR solution from Microsoft. So Microsoft 365 Defender alongside Azure Defender actually cover all security needs for on-prem and cloud for your environment. Again, covering identities, your devices, apps, and the network. And here we can see how Microsoft Defender is comprised of Microsoft 365 Defender, which takes care of all those elements in your on-prem network, and then Azure Defender for covering security for your cloud assets. And so Microsoft 365 Defender really brings together these four best-of-breed products we have in these different categories. So earlier on, we had point products for these areas. We have Microsoft Defender for Identity, which is formerly named Azure Advanced Threat Protection. That's the our product for covering Active Directory traffic and searching for or covering credential theft, lateral movement, identity compromised attack scenarios. Then we have Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which is our endpoint security solution. This is what was formerly named Microsoft Defender Advanced Threat Protection. This covers the entire security stack, prevention, detection, investigation, and response for all of the organizational endpoints. Microsoft Cloud App Security provides security for your cloud applications. And lastly, Microsoft Defender for Office 365. This is the formerly named Microsoft Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection, which covers security for Office 365 services like your email, OneDrive, SharePoint. So originally, these products used to operate each in its own separate area, covering different aspects of your network domain. But really, attackers when an attack occurs, it actually spans across these different domains. And so as defenders, we really realized that we want to provide this unified view for defenders that shows that entire spectrum as well. And so we're shifting from these individual silos into a coordinated cross-domain security suite that brings together these products, integrates them into a single experience with a single portal, but also deeply integrated at the different entity levels, and helping each other, basically bringing to you better security by combining these capabilities together.
That's an awesome summary. Thank you, Corey. So it looks like we're still waiting on some questions. We will stand by and see if we have some questions come in. We did have one question earlier from Zvi, who was asking if you could explain the difference between SIM and XDR.
That was for me. Sure, I can. So the way we see XDR or the cross detection and response solution, as we see it, it's basically a full stack, deeply integrated cross-domain security solution that's out of the box. So we take these expert systems and having deep understanding and knowledge of each of these products with its the data that it brings and the capabilities that it brings, we combine them together in a deeply integrated stack and bring that to you as a single out-of-the-box solution for, again, detecting threats that span across these domains. SIEMs, on the other hand, will be more of a do-it-yourself solution. So you might bring some different, and it's certainly a piece of the Microsoft Threat Protection full solution. So we see the SIEM as the place where you can now integrate your Microsoft 365 and Azure security with other third-party security products that you might have in your environment, and get that high-level integration across all of your security tools, including other third-party vendor products.
It's a really good summary. I hope that answered the question for our esteemed colleague. It looks like we're still waiting on any questions here from attendees. We will stand by a few minutes and see what comes in. So I wonder, in lieu of an awkward silence, and given that we have these amazing statistics up on the screen here while we wait for more people to join, Karina, I wonder if you can walk us through these statistics and why SOC efficiency is so important now more than ever, given the current environment that we're working in. What thoughts do you have there?
Yes, of course. So We see and hear a lot from our customers about the challenges that SOCs face today, and mainly about this dissonance between certainly increasing attack volumes in these past years, certainly even more this year with our special situation, people working from home, and a lot of attackers out there kind of taking more advantage of some of the interesting security challenges that this situation creates. So there's rising volume in the amount of problems that security teams have to deal with on a regular basis in the SOC. And we also see the SOC teams having gotten to a point where there's a lot of tools in the SOC that have accumulated over time to cover various aspects of the security realm. So lots of work, lots of tools to use for handling this. And then on the flip side of that, there's a shortage, a very painful shortage in personnel in the SOC teams. Difficult to hire folks and difficult to hire skilled and experienced SOC teams. And so this actually creates a real problem for SOC teams, and looking for how to become more efficient, how to be able to handle this load and this multitude of tools with the amount of people available is a challenge.
Thanks, Kari. And that's really interesting, because it's interesting that a tool like this that is designed to make a SOC team much more efficient doesn't necessarily mean, like, it certainly doesn't mean that these people's jobs are being replaced by an AI or a smart tool. It means it's augmenting them. And as you can see here, there's this huge gap that there is in hiring and being able to find and retain skilled workers. So would you say this is something like this is smart people and smart cloud workloads sort of helping each other out to get this kind of thing done, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So the Microsoft 365 Defender is really there to assist the SOC analysts and help them focus on the more important and the more acute issues, and sort of help them organize the work, the volume of alerts that are coming at them. If you features like, first of all, consolidated single portal to allow to remove this need to switch between different portals, different views, see small pieces of the picture in different parts, and having to stitch that all together in your mind or on a piece of paper. That part goes away with Microsoft 365 Defender for the Microsoft 365 products. It actually just meshes them together into this one experience that is much more efficient to work with in that aspect. And then automation that's built into Microsoft 365 Defender, again, self-healing features across the different Microsoft 365 areas or domains, allows for the system to automatically pick up on these incidents, investigate them automatically, provide all the details to the SOC analyst, and in most cases, handle the more benign and repetitive remediation work that's out there with predefined playbooks, and letting the SOC team really focus on the more complex or the more important pieces.
That's super interesting. Thank you. And we had a question from Phil earlier about jobs, and so a question I'm going to direct to Jeff Chen. We're all dying to know, what exactly do you do all day?
Well, one of the things that my team is responsible for is really around working alongside the teams as an interface to the folks inside engineering. So we essentially take product feedback, and we get an opportunity to work with teams like Karina and Z and Meha. And the benefit to this is that we end up being a great voice for the customer to be able to come back and bring those features. And this relationship that is established helps us to apply a practitioner's view on how the products are being used. So from this now inside Defender, which was a tremendous project and opportunity, and now as we bleed into developing Sentinel last year or over the last year and a half, and now into CyberX, we are on the sort of the edge of those new acquisitions and to bring insights and internal builds in order to facilitate cross really solution selling. So it's a great opportunity to be inside Microsoft.
That's great. That's really interesting. Thanks, Jeff. And
yeah, I can add to that also from the product engineering point of view. It's fascinating to see this shift in consolidation in trying to bring together many of the smaller tools in the SOCs, and actually watching SOC teams operate, you really get this understanding clicks that if attackers are able to see the end-to-end view in order to be able to carry through these threats, it's absolutely necessary that defenders have that same view. And so that's an interesting challenge to be working on. We didn't talk, since you put up this slide, we didn't talk about this concept of incidents, which is quite interesting. So traditionally, in the SOC, there would be these alert queues, notifications coming from the different tools about suspect activities or malicious activities that are being identified in the network, and the SOC team would address these alerts in the queue one by one. And again, here we realized that these alerts are actually mostly related to each other. Oftentimes, there's either a similar problem on, say, several different assets in the organization, or actually an end-to-end threaded malicious activity going on. And really, for the system to be putting together these different alerts into, or matching them together and creating these combined views where you can see an entire set of alerts that's related to the same threat, the same attack, in one container, if you like, and handle it as that, rather than having different SOC analysts pick up different pieces of it. That's extremely useful in being able to certainly become more efficient, but also having a much easier job in understanding what's going on and actually being able to handle that.
And that's hugely powerful in terms of, like the whole title of this session, being able to recognize efficiencies within the SOC and being able to go from tens of thousands of alerts and being overwhelmed with signal noise to maybe hundreds or a couple of thousands of incidents or even dozens of incidents, and piecing those together automatically, where previously that may have been impossible. If not, it would have taken weeks or months to figure out how all these bits and pieces were connected. That's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, when we look at the statistics of, on average, about alerts to incident ratios, it's around the 70% saving. So generally, you'll see a reduction of about 70% in the amount of work items in your queue when you switch this view into from incidents to from alerts to incidents.
And it's true that you can recognize these benefits and these efficiencies of Microsoft 365 Defender automatically and for free if you have one of the underlying products. But it's true that you don't need all of them. And Zvi, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about how this works maybe within Office 365 Defender or one of the other products. Like you can have this massive reduction in alerts or signal overload even if you only have one of the underlying threat protection products, correct? We may have some technical difficulties here with Zvi, but I'll take that one for him. And the answer is yes, you can recognize some significant benefits. And I heard recently. Oh, he's back.
With the voices, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you, Zvi.
Some problems with the connection, not that kind of coming.
I think Zvi may have not paid the Wi-Fi bill, but I think what he was trying to say was that even in Office you can see a reduction of up to 80% in the number of alerts coming through. So that's a huge efficiency that you'll see in the SOC workload and the number of alerts and incidents that those defenders need to work with. So that's pretty impressive. And like we were saying before, you don't need all of these underlying siloed solutions from the Microsoft portfolio in order to see the immediate benefits of Microsoft 365 Defender. And maybe one question, we have Mikhail on the call as well, and just to maybe point one question his way, how would a customer implement this? Is this something that, maybe I've got a couple of the underlying threat protection products already? How would I go about getting Microsoft 365 Defender? Do I have to install anything or deploy anything? What would I do there?
So the great thing about Microsoft 365 Defender is that it's a suite and it's cloud-based. And so all you have to do really is just go to security.microsoft.com after you've enabled the products that you already have, and you can start enjoying the benefits from it. And the more of the underlying products you have, the greater the benefit. And you have it in the same portal with the same experiences, just being able to span all of your data and all of the different pillars of your network in a single, consistent, understandable way, where we bring everything together, as Karina mentioned earlier, into incidents. So you'll have stuff from Office 365 Defender and endpoint, Microsoft 365 for endpoint. Alerts from both of them will appear in the same incident, having been correlated by our AI and business logic.
And Mikhail, that's independent of the license you might have, isn't it? So there's no additional license for Microsoft 365 Defender. It comes along with the product that you have that is associated with the license for that product, right?
Absolutely. So I mean, it's both an additional layer or additional layer of product, but it's also a unified user experience you get along with your E5 license or E5 licenses, again, depending on which product you've already licensed and deployed.
Brilliant.
Phil, I want to address Phil. Phil has a question. He's asking, are these different licenses? Phil is a very, he's been our customer for many years now, and he's still confused. Maybe we can help him with the licensing. No?
I feel like the previous answer may have addressed that question quite adequately.
Yeah. But so since we did mention the licenses, and the nice thing about Defender 365 or Microsoft 365 Defender is, even if you only have one product, you get a lot of value unlocked for that in terms of the auto investigation and remediation and the advanced hunting. So there are capabilities that you get by virtue of Microsoft 365 Defender, even over each of the individual products.
That's great. And then we have a couple of minutes left. So maybe talk for a second about what if I had a SIM layer on top of this? What if I was using Azure Sentinel or even potentially another third-party SIM product, and I wanted to pull in information from my infrastructure portfolio or from a third-party cloud or IoT. I wonder if one of you could sort of talk to that a little bit about how I might integrate with a third party or with a SIM. Maybe Jeff, do you have some advice there?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that will sort of a lot of our customers ask about is, I have an existing SIM today, and I want to take a look at Azure Sentinel because there are a lot of included data sources, including much of the Office 365 data, Teams data, Azure data, and of course the alerts that come in from the Microsoft 365 Defender also come in, those alerts come in at no charge. And so when you consider a perspective where we bring information to Sentinel, we have an opportunity to then look at that information from Microsoft, alerts that may have happened, artifacts that have come across with those alerts, and then correlate those with the third-party information that is into and built in, being brought in from various third-party sources like their firewalls, some application logs, stuff like even other Microsoft tooling like Security Center, Azure AD sign-in logs. This perspective really allows us to draft together incidents tied to and give a unique view across the entire estate of the customer. Sorry, today awesome. the key thing around this is really, and once that occurs, then leveraging the power inside 365 Defender, many of the logic apps today will have plugins to the components of. So performing additional analysis and subsequently SOAR options becomes extremely simple. So at first, most customers will start with just a very introductory view of Sentinel, but when they really understand how quickly they can get to their data, how quickly they can put together rules, they find very quickly that it becomes almost a very exciting perspective to be able to look at something that's completely cloud-based.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff.
And Tim, I think maybe just I'd like to give a shout out here to our research teams and expert folks who really, it's through their research that Microsoft 365 Defender is able to mesh together and bring together these different pieces of information into these comprehensive incidents that then flow into Sentinel and can be combined with other pieces. So, but really, there's a lot of smart and knowledge put into or codified into that correlation logic that knows how to stick together these pieces and bring you the bigger picture.
Makes sense. Yeah, great call out. And it looks like we're right at time. And we have a couple of other resources here that I think I'm still sharing, where we have a virtual hub where there is plenty of other videos and material. There's our brand new Microsoft 365 Defender webpage, and then we have a blog and dedicated tech community as well. So please feel free to hit these links and find more information. And I think with that, we can call that a wrap. Thank you for joining, and thank you to our experts for being here to answer questions.